Stone Point Creation or Stone Point Crochet um, from YouTube by Pamela Stone, and we're going to be working on the high-low top, the very beginning. We're going to be working on this section here that I call the chest piece, and this section is worked horizontally, and then we turn and we work vertically into this last row. So let's get started. There is not going to be a beginning chain with this, so this is going to be a little bit different. Make your slip knot, and these are what we refer to as the clusters. You're going to start off with a 6 hook, or whatever gives you the proper gauge, and you're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to treble crochet, you're going to wrap it twice, and you're going to go back into the very first stitch that you crocheted. Right there, can you see that? Let's get really close, let it focus. And this is a treble crochet in the first chain that you chain. So we yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. So this treble cluster has got a chain 4 here, and it's got a treble crochet here. We go back into the same stitch and make, oops, I'm sorry, and make another treble crochet. Now in the wavy part of the bottom, okay, so this is the bottom. This is where we'll be working the next row into. In the wavy part of the bottom of this top, there'll be another treble crochet on here, but it's not done any differently. So this, like I said, there's no chain. We're just doing 6 of these. 5 if you have a tiny frame, like a really tiny frame, tiny rib cage, tiny bones, all of that. So we're going to chain 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's get really, really close. And then we're going to go back into this stitch right here. Now you can kind of go back into this whole thing. Try to get into this stitch if you can, just because this chain 4 needs to be on the bottom. So we're going to treble, wrap twice, go into this stitch. So let you look at that. See? We're going to treble crochet once, wrap again. We're going to go back into the same, stitch and treble crochet again. So now we have 2 treble clusters. Didn't think to name them that when I did this. And we have 2 treble clusters. We need to make 4 more. So we chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what happens is if you go into this side, the chain 4 is on the wrong side. We want them all down. So if you go into this side, it keeps the chain 4 below, underneath, instead of up above. So that's the reason this little stitch here matters. So we're going to wrap twice, and then we're going to find this stitch right here. Try and find that if you can. See, it's here's your 4 chains, and it's right before your 4 chains. So okay, let's look at that. You see, right here. And we're going to treble crochet, do 2 trebles into that same stitch. So now we have 3. Once again, we have 3. Once again, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrap twice, and then we want to find the stitch on this side. So we want to go this way to make sure that treble crochet is, or the chain 4 is on the bottom. So we're going to go right in here. See? This is, it's kind of like the stitch before. We're going to treble crochet into that, another treble crochet. The only difference for the bottom will be there will be another 4 or 3 trebles on that one. Okay, now we have 4. Let's do one more. See how these are the chain 4, the chain 4s that we're going to be working in for the next row. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go back right into that stitch right there. Okay, I'll show you. I'm going to wrap twice, and then I'm going to show you that stitch right there. Right there. Okay, there we focused right there. Oops, let's do it again. Oh, I lost it. Treble crochet right into that stitch right there. That makes it easier to see. And since we're going, sorry, my yarn is splitting. Okay, and the only mistake, treble crochet, drop twice, go back into that same stitch. The only mistake that is a possibility, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do 6 of these, and it's going to be 6 for everybody except really tiny, tiny people. The only, we can chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The only thing that I think can be hard is if you were to go to this underside, because if you did that, it would make the chain 4 on the wrong, it would make the chain 4 up at the top. So we want to go in over and go into this stitch up here. We want to go into this to, it's kind of the top of the second treble. See how we have the chain 4, treble, treble? It's kind of in the top of the treble. So that's when we want to go into, because if we go into this side, it makes the loop in the wrong, it makes that chain 4 in the wrong direction. So kind of look for the top of the treble. So somehow go and look, see where that stitch is? I'm going to turn it, see? So let's do our last treble. Alright, then the pattern, so that was row 1. Then the next row you're going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, whichever you prefer. Now we're going to be working into this space, this chain 4 space right into here. We need to move over there a little bit to work into it. So we are just going to single crochet in this space like this to work over there, to get over to this space. So this would be your neckline, and this is the way we're working right now. We're working down along these. So I'm going to do that, and then single crochet, and we're going to make V stitches. So we're going to do, this is really easy. For every single one, we're going to do 2 V stitches in here and here, and only 1 V stitch in each one of these. And that's all we're doing. So our first V stitch will be 1, 2, 3. That represents, this is the same as a double crochet, then chain 1, and then double crochet all in this space, this chain space. There's our first V stitch. Okay, we got to put 2 in that one, 2 in the first one, 2 in the last one. So yarn over, we're going to do a double crochet, a chain 1, and another double crochet. I will show you that again. Now we have in this chain 4 space, we have 2 V-stitches. So we're going to go to the next V-stitch, or we're going to go to the next chain 4 space and put in just 1 V-stitch. So we double crochet, we chain 1, we double crochet, and so we have 2 in the first one and 1 in each one of these. We're going to put 2 in the last one. Let's go into the next chain 4 space right here, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So just 1 goes in that one. Go to the next one, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Next one, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and in this very last one we need to put 2 V-stitches right here, right in this chain 4 space. So it says chain 4 space, you go in there. You're not going into the individual stitches. So we're going to put 2 V-stitches in there, and a V-stitch is just one, all in one space, a leg with whatever it says in the middle. It can be 1, 2, 3, however many. I'm putting in 1, and then another leg in the same stitch. That's a V-stitch, and your pattern will show you which kind. So we need to put 2 in the very last one. So I have 2 in the beginning, 2 V-stitches in the beginning, 2 V-stitches in the end, and as the pattern says, we should have 8 V-stitches total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. There that is. Now, row 3, all we're going to do is, I'll just tell you in advance, all we're going to do is in each chain 1 space of these V-stitches, we need this to build quickly. Okay, it's going to be building this way, but we need it to build quickly. So what we're going to be doing is, I'm left-handed, so we have to do it this way. We're just going to put 3 double crochets in every chain 1 space of our V-stitches. The top of it in our V-stitches we're just putting, so we're going to chain 3, we're going to turn, this counts as 1 double crochet. We're going to put our second double crochet in the chain 1 space, our third double crochet in the chain 1 space, and this counts as 3 double crochets. Then we're going to find our next chain 1 space, which is right there, because see, this is the chain 1 space of the V-stitch, and we're just going to put 3 double crochets in that. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna pause it, and I want you to put 3. I'm going to finish this 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space of every single V-stitch, including this last one. Pause it, and I will meet you there. Okay, I'm going to put my last 3 double crochets in this last V-stitch. 1, 2, and 3. All done with row 1, 2, 3. All done with row 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 clusters of 3, which is 24 stitches. The next row will just be all double crochets. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn, and we're going to put a double crochet in each stitch all the way across. So this counts as the same stitch as your chain. So if it says the first stitch from the hook, let's look real close. It says the first stitch from the hook, it means this one, or the same stitch as your chain, it means this one. But if it doesn't say either one of those, then you go into this stitch right here. and double crochet in each stitch all the way across. I'm going to pause it and meet you there. Okay, I did double crochet all the way across for, let's see, this was row 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and don't forget to double crochet in the top of this chain 3 or you'll lose a stitch, as most of you know. Okay, so row 5, we're gonna turn and we're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip one stitch. This is the same stitch as your chain, so that we skip this stitch, and then we're going to double crochet in the stitch. Let me double check. We're going to do another set of V stitches. So we're going to chain 1 and double crochet in the next V stitch. So we're making this build pretty quickly. This is for all sizes, but I am going to go on to add to it for the plus sizes. Let me get this out of my way here. So right now this is the same for all sizes, but I'll be adding to it. So we're just going to skip a stitch and repeat and make a V stitch in every other stitch. So we're skipping this stitch and we're putting a V stitch right here, which is double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and we skip a stitch. So we're just making this increase pretty quickly, putting in another V stitch. So every other stitch is going to have a V stitch. I'm going to pause it and I will meet you at the end. Okay, this row it begins with a double crochet. It's supposed to have 11 V stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and skip one, and it ends in a double crochet. So we're going to do one more V stitch so that we have 11, and then we're going to put a double crochet in the top of this chain 3. So we're increasing pretty quickly. We're on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on row 5. We're increasing nice and quick with our V stitches with a double crochet at each end. Alrighty, that was row 5. Now, row 6. This is as far as we go for sizes small, medium, and large, but row 6 is the last one we do, and we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn, and we're going to, in this chain 1 space right here of this previous row, we're going to work the double crochet shell. So we're going to, which is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and I'll show you this, chain 1, double crochet, and oops, chain 1 and double crochet. Okay, I'll show you that. So we just did a chain 1, and then right into this very first V stitch we added our double crochet shell, which is making 1, 2, 3 chain 1 spaces, and those are important. Can you see those? We did a chain 1, we did 4 double crochets with a chain 1 in between, and then made 1, 2, 3 double crochet spaces. Or I mean, sorry, that made 3 chain 1 spaces. Okay. Now, if you're doing this for size large, not the plus sizes, for size large, we're going to need to add an extra chain 1 double crochet in the first and last stitches. We're just adding an extra chain 1 space to give us an extra 2 rows on the body. So let me flip it over like this. For the regular sizes, we're going to be working vertically into these chain 1 spaces. So this is what it means when it says for size large, add 1, chain 1, double crochet space. Okay, so you just add an extra there, but we're going to go on to the plus sizes, so we don't add that. You single crochet in the next chain 1 space. So we're going to anchor it right here in this chain 1 space. You see, that's a V. We had the double crochet row, now a V stitch. We're just going to single crochet there. So it's just a regular shell, which means in the very next one we're going to do another one of those double crochet chain 1 shells to make 3 spaces, 3 chain 1 spaces. So there's 1 space, 2 space, so that means we have to keep going, make another one. And I'll show you this. So we just did a regular shell in the next one, and see how quickly this works out. So here's 1 chain 1 space, here's 2, here's 3, so that shell is done. Then we want to single crochet, anchor it right here, and go on to the next chain 1 space of the V stitch of the previous row. Double crochet, chain 1. So when it says double crochet shell, this is what it means. Make 3 chain 1 spaces. 1, 2, so we need to chain 1 and do 1 more. Oops. We anchor it with a single crochet to the very next one, and we're going to continue down. I will meet you at the end. Here we are at the very last chain, or the very last chain 1 space of the V stitch. We'll put in a full double crochet shell, which is double crochet chain 1, double crochet chain 1, double crochet chain 1, and if you're doing a large, 1, 2, we're going to make 3 of those. If you're doing a large, there's 3 chain 1 spaces here. If you're doing a large, add an extra chain 1 space. Then we just do a single crochet, because this started with a single crochet. Then we do a single crochet in the top of this chain 3 from the previous row. And you do that whether you add another double crochet or not, but we didn't this time because for the plus size you don't add that double crochet on the end, or that chain 1 double crochet. Okay, now if you were doing small, medium, or large, you would begin to work vertically into these chain 1 spaces. But I'm going to continue on for the plus sizes. And the plus sizes, you continue on to row 7. You'll see it on the, for 1x, 2x, and 3x, you're going to continue on to row 7. So plus sizes, you're going to turn, and then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to put 2 double crochets in the same stitch as a chain 3. So we're going to put, see, this is the same stitch as a chain 3 right here. You're going to put 2 more double crochets. Okay, so we're going to make shells. We're going to attach this to the middle here. Now look at the middle. There's a chain. There's 3 chain 1 spaces, so this would be the middle. So we're just doing a half a shell right here, and we're going to anchor it to the middle chain 1 space from the previous row. See this shell? See? We're just anchoring it right there. Then we're just going to do 5. We're going to go into the single crochet between the shells, and we're going to do just 5 double crochets there. There's 1, 2, 3, I'll show you in a second, 4, and 5. Okay, we have our 5. Okay, so we're going to anchor it to this middle. See this middle one? There's 1 chain space here, 2 chain spaces, 3 of our double crochet shell. We're going to anchor it in the middle there. Then we're going to put 5 more in, see this next valley? We're going to put 5 more in this next valley. And you probably have done these shells before, and this is a standard stitch, and it just gives coverage where you need it for this garment. So I tried it more open, and I just thought, oh, that's not what we want. We want more coverage there. So I put 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing fancy, nothing different, and then I'm going to anchor it into the middle. See, find the middle. See the chain 1 spots, and there's the middle one. Anchor it there, and I will meet you at the end. Here we are at the end of row 7, and we just did normal shell pattern with half a shell here. We anchored it to the middle, a shell here, a single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, shell, and at the very end we're just going to match it up. Remember, at this end we did a partial shell and the single crochet, and that might be a little hard to find, but it's there. So we're going to anchor this to the middle, and then we're going to just like this side. See how we put 3? We have 3 double crochets there. We're going to put 3 double crochets here. Sorry, let me anchor that. All right, and there, this is just to count over and just get into this stitch right here. There is a single crochet over here, and we just work 3 double crochets, which is a half shell, right over here. Nothing in between, just normal ones, and that's row 7 for plus sizes. Okay, so we're going to turn it. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet in the very next stitch. And what we're doing is we're basically, you want to get in the middle of these 3, and we're going to single crochet here. Okay, let's see, and then we're going to work a double crochet shell in the next single crochet of the previous row. So here's our single crochet, and this is going to get bigger faster. We want it to do that. It'll have really nice coverage. But we're going to work our double crochet shell. So if you remember, it is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, oops, 1. Okay, so it's 4 double crochets and 3 chain 1s. So we're going to make 3 chain 1 space, 1, 2, 3. So that's our double crochet shell, and then we're just going to anchor it to the very top, which is 1, 2, which is the third, which is the middle double crochet, or the third 1, 2, the third stitch. We're going to single crochet to that, and then we're immediately going to make another shell in the next valley, just like we do with normal shells, except we're putting a space in between. We're only doing 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a space in between. So that's the only thing different. So we're going to put a shell in this next valley, in the single crochet of the previous row. This is double crochet, chain 1. Whoa! Double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to continue that, and I will meet you at this end. Okay, here we are. We started with a single crochet. I did a double crochet shell with those 3 chain 1 spaces. Pay attention to those. And I went all the way down, so I began with a single crochet, so I'm going to finish with 2 single crochets. So I'm going to finish with a single crochet. I'm going to skip a stitch, single crochet in this stitch, and then single crochet in the top. So I'll let you know why. Okay, so this had a chain 1 and a single crochet to get to the right spot. So this, which is 2 technically, which is equals 2 single crochets. That's why we put 2 single crochets over there. And it's to give you kind of a straight line, because we are going to be crocheting up this part. So turn this over. Here we are now on row 8. There's only one more row left for the plus sizes. So row 9, we're going to turn. Row 9 says to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in the same stitch as the chain, remember it's this one right here, it's the same stitch as a chain. This we're going to be putting a partial shell. So this chain 4 counts as a double crochet chain 1. So we're going to go right into another double crochet. Sorry about that. Right into another double crochet, and we have the first part of our shell. We're making another set of the double crochet shells across, but we're increasing. So we're going to chain 1 and do another double crochet. So we have 2 chain 1 spaces. So we have a partial shell right here. And it's flaring out really fast. We want it to do that. That way it's going to have really, really good coverage, but still look like waves and shells, and then the bottom is covered in waves. So it's a very, very summery, beachy top. So then we find our middle chain 1, and we anchor it here. Now there is a note for 3 X's. To finish off this shell. So it just says, for 3X, it says to add a chain 1, and a double crochet, all to the same stitch. So instead of making a partial shell, we've made a full one with 3 chain 1 spaces, because these chain 1 spaces we're going to slip stitch into, work vertically. We're going to chain down, work vertically, and we're going to slip stitch in these. So this just gives us an extra chain 1 space if we need it for the 3X. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on each end. So this has 3, so then we anchor it to this middle. See, we've got chain 1 space, chain 1 space, chain 1 space. We're going to anchor it to the middle one, and then we're going to make a full double crochet shell, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So this is, I'm doing a 3X. Chain 1, and chain double crochet. And just make sure and count and make sure you have 3 chain 1 spaces. 1, 2, 3. And this one, because it's a 3X. Now, not a 3X, don't do your extra chain 1 space. It'll only be a partial shell there. But we're doing a 3X, so we're going to make it a full shell all the way across. And see how fast it increases? It makes a really pretty shape, and I'll show you what it looks like on top of the size, I think size medium or large. One's a medium and one's a large, so I think it's the size large. But I'll show you what that looks like. And so work across. Do your shell, single crochet into the middle of here, do a shell here, single crochet in the middle here, and I'll meet you at the end. Here we are at the end of row 9, and we're doing a 3X. So we would, for 1X and a 2X, in this right here, in this single crochet space right here, we would just put a partial shell if it were 1X or a 2X, which is chain or double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we only have 2 chain 1 spaces to work vertically in, but since this is a 3x, we're going to add an extra, we're going to chain 1 and add an extra double crochet to give us another space to work in vertically. Now, this is, I'm going to pause it, but I'm going to put it up like this. This is the plus size, and this has, and final ending has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has 7 shells. And each shell for the 1x has 3 chain 1 spaces. And that's all you're going to need to know for the next part. I'm going to change colors just so you can see. I'm going to pause it. Now, on the pattern, we've finished row 9. This is our neckline, and this is where we're going to begin working vertically. I changed colors so you can see, but if you use a speckle color, you could always change colors to something that's in the solid speckle, or vice versa. You go with solid color and then put the speckle here, but you can change colors. I try to do things so that everybody else can see, and so it looks good on me. But now, if you look on your pattern, it will tell you how many to chain for your size. Now we are going to be working vertically in all these chain 1 spaces. So for a size 1x, let me show you what you would do. You wouldn't have this extra chain 1 space on here, but it doesn't matter. For size 1x, when it says slip stitch over, let's get real close. When it says slip stitch over to the first chain 1 space, it's right here, and it just means it's just 1 slip stitch, and that's it, and you're there. And then you chain the amount it tells you. For a 1x, you would chain 34. And for the 3x, which is what we're doing, and the 2x, you don't slip stitch over to this first spot. I'm just going to do a shorter chain. It tells you exactly how many to chain for your size. It comes out really good. This is very stretchy. It's got a lot of flow to it, so these will be real accurate. But I chained 1. There's 1, and I'm going to chain the amount that it says, or chain the amount that it says, but that's when it says slip stitch over for the 1x and the small to the first chain 1 space. That's what it means. Just slip stitch right into there. That's all you're going to be doing right there. So I'm just going to chain any amount here. I have no idea how much I chained. Okay, so now the rest of this pattern is going to be exactly the same except for the armholes for all sizes. And the armhole sizes and stitch counts are right here. You'll be able to see them all. But we're going to go on, ooh, you know what, the big one, I made the mistake, everybody can see. This whole thing is done with a 6mm hook. Now, this is 100% cotton. I used a cotton blend which is thinner. So you're going to need to use whatever hook you can to get to the proper gauge. And so I used a 6, and then the bottom I used an 8. Now if you need to drop down a hook size, then just add 2, and that's a hook size you need for the bottom. So I used a 6, so I'm going to use an 8 for the bottom. Say you used a 5.5 for the top to get the right gauge, then that means I'm going to use a 7.5 for the bottom. So you're just going to add 2. That's the only little bit tricky part. But this is where you're supposed to change hooks, and it says it really clearly. I'm just was trying to think about what to do next, so I'm just going to chain a random amount. It tells you exactly how many to chain. There's no guesswork or measuring. It tells you exactly how many to chain in the pattern. But I'm going to show you this part. Now see, what we're doing is this is the chest piece, and this is with rows 7, 8, and 9 on it. This is the regular size. This is what it would look like for the small, medium, and large. And see how it just goes down further. This is the collar here, and flares out. So it's just longer and flares out to give more coverage. for the different sizes. That's all it does. And these are the stitches we're going to be working in. Okay, so now after row 9 or after row 6, for small, medium, and large, or after row 9, it doesn't matter. From here on out, it's exactly the same, except the armhole sizes. But don't forget to change hooks like I did, because you'll crochet down there and then you'll remember. But it says it in the pattern. What you want to do is I'm going to be working in the back loops. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a single crochet in the back loops, and the back loops are this is the first stitch, this is the second stitch. The back loops are this bump. So we're going to look at this real close. See, this would be whatever's closest to you. This would be a front loop, back loop, and I'm sorry, we are going to be working in the bottom loop. And see, they're called the third loop or the bottom bumps or the bottom loop. That's the name for all of them. Let's show you a really big one. So when I say bottom loop, okay, here's our front loop, our back loop, and it's this bottom bump that we're going to be working in. We're going to do this a few times. So the second bottom bump, bottom loop from the hook. So I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to single crochet into that bottom loop. See, there's one. This is my turning chain, and it might collapse on you, and you can just figure it out or leave it. It won't matter because it's the third row that we count the stitches. So here is our next bottom loop, and we're going to work in the bottom loop. See, all the way up this chain, and I will meet you right there. I'll meet you right here, the chain before. Okay, this part I'm going to go real slow. Now, first I'm going to show you where we're at. This right here, because I'm left-handed, it's a little bit harder. This is the chest piece, and these are the extra 3 rows for the plus size. And we chained our specific amount. We chained this amount. Our specific amount is the same for all sizes. Now, then we turned and we crocheted in the bottom loop, leaving this nice edge out here. And that's the reason we crocheted. It makes it more even, so this tightens up, and that way we have a nice edge on both sides. That's the reason we crocheted in the bottom loops, is just to make it easier. Okay, so when we get to here, I'm going to do this really, when we get to here, this is the bottom loop, and then here's another chain. So those people who didn't start from this first chain 1 space, see, the people that didn't slip stitch to here and start from here, they're going to need to leave 1 chain and slip stitch right into this first, see, right into this first chain 1 space. Then you chain 1. Now we're going to be working in the front loops, except in the bottoms and tops. Now this is going to be vertical. I know I'm moving it all over, but chest piece, neckline, and this is going to be the bodice. Okay, so we chain 1, and then this stitch right here, in the top and the bottom of every row, we're going to work in both loops, but in the middle we're only working in the front loop. And the reason we do that in the top and the bottom is to add structure so it doesn't stretch out. So we're just single crocheting in both loops of the first stitch. Then we're going to start to single crochet in the front loops only. See? Front loop, back loop. We're just going to single crochet in the front loops only all the way down. Now when we get down to the bottom, we do these in the front loops. When we get down to the bottom, we're going to crochet in both loops. So it's every other row we just got to remember to crochet in both loops at the bottom and the top, and I'm just going to work my way down. And so work my way down, and this, if you can't get into this last turning chain, don't worry, that's not, we're not counting stitches yet. Just go in 2 loops of this. Now, however many stitches you have here is the stitch count you want to maintain. This is row 3, and this is what you're going to maintain. So you don't count any of the slip stitch. See how we use this? See how we use this chain 1 space to slip stitch and work vertically? I'll flip it over since I'm left-handed. See? Okay, so see, we use this to slip stitch into and work vertically. So at the end of the row, we just chain 1, and this already has enough structure right here. So we turn and we immediately start crocheting single crocheting in the front loop only. And all of this will, until we get to the top again, until we get to the double crochet shells from either row 6 or row 9 of the pattern. So regular sizes, small, medium, and large. But this will be exactly the same. You will have shells with 3 chain 1 space, or shells with 3 chain 1 spaces, no matter what size you're doing, because that's what it ends with, whether row 6 and row 9 end with exactly the same pattern. It's just one of them has more chain 1 spaces to work in than the other. So we just made a pattern with spaces to work in. Now I know you can see this looks a little messy, but it's not when you're using same colors or coordinating colors. Okay, let's look at this really close. Now, this part is not a stitch right here. This is just our slip stitch, where we slip stitched around this. This part is not a stitch. Okay, you'll see this is kind of a stop here. You see this loop across, and that means stop. This is our last stitch right here. You might have to turn it over to find it. When you turn it over, you can see that this really isn't a stitch. This is just a slip stitch. This is your last stitch. Crochet into both of those loops for sturdiness. And then where we're going to go next is right into this very next chain 1 space, and we're going to do a slip stitch. And there we have it. We're going across, and we always chain 1 after the slip stitch. It just makes it neater looking. It works better. Okay, and then our very first stitch is not here. That is the same stitch as the slip stitch. That's not our first stitch. This is our first stitch. And we always want to single crochet in both loops at the top and bottom for structure. Now we just single crochet in the front loops all the way down, except in the very bottom stitch, and I'll show you what this looks like. So this is a stitch count we want to maintain, and this is stitch count we want to maintain. I just want to make sure you're counting so you don't pick up or lose stitches. I haven't had too many problems, but I'm capable of losing or picking up a stitch at any time. Okay, so we're at the very bottom, and this is a turning chain, which is a stitch, and this is a stitch. So we have 2 stitches left, so we can still a front loop, single crochet in the front loop, but in the last one we need to catch 2 loops. We need to catch 2 loops and single crochet, chain 1, and turn. This is just all really normal, but we start immediately, because this is already structured. We start immediately in the front loop and go right back up. Okay, and I'm gonna go, I'll meet you right up here. Okay, here we are at that weird top again. Look, I have 2 stitches left, and look, there's my little stopper. of my slip stitch right there. Okay, let me show you this side. It's easier. See, 1, 2, and then this is just a slip stitch. This isn't a stitch. So we front loop, we crochet in the front loop, but this is our last stitch at the top before we slip stitch, so we got to go in both loops of that. And try and keep that up, because that way it's going to lay really nice. Now we're here, so let's see if we can figure out where to go next. Where we go next is the next chain 1 space. So that's easy. We slip stitch into that chain 1 space, we chain 1, and we turn it over. We are going to, this is our first stitch right here. This isn't a stitch. See how it's attached to the chain 1 space, so it's not a stitch. This is our first stitch. We go into both loops of that, and then we single crochet in the front loop only all the way down to the bottom. When we get to the bottom, we're going to chain 1 and turn, maintaining our stitch count. And then I will meet you back up here. So go single crochet in the front loop all the way down here in both loops of this turning chain right here. Chain 1 and single crochet in the front loops back up, and I will meet you back up here. Now I crochet down and back up to the top in the front loop only, and we're going to look at stitches. So this is our stopper where we did a, this is just where we did a slip stitch. This isn't a stitch. These are only 2 stitches we have left. So we finish in the front loop. We go in the front loop, but the very last stitch right here, we go in both loops. Then we're getting ready to slip stitch, and it says slip stitch to the next chain 1 space. So we're ignoring, see how these are shells and they have a single crochet in the middle? We're ignoring that, and we're going to go right into the very first chain 1 space of that next shell. And this is going to make a cute little diamond. It's going to be kind of a little peekaboo part in the top. So we slip stitch right into that first chain 1 space, chain 1, turn it over, and look what we have. So we've ignored this chain 1 space. Or this single crochet. We're only interested in working in these chain 1 spaces. That's all, nothing else. And remember, this here is not a stitch. I kind of made it big and stretched out. This isn't a stitch. This is your first stitch. See, this is attached. This is just a slip stitch that's attached to, that's not a stitch. It's just attached to that. So we're going to go in both stitches, or in both loops, and then we start down in just the front loop all the way down to the bottom. And maintain your stitch count. It's rare, it's hard to lose them. I mean, to lose or increase stitches, because as long as you pay attention to what you're doing up here, you're fine. Okay, so let's turn this over and look at it, because we're almost done. And both sides look fine. On here they look a little bit weird, but it's just really bright colors. Even if you were to change colors, it would still look nice. You might have a right side, this might be your right side, but I don't change colors, I like it. So obviously this would be longer, because this would be on your body, this would be longer. And you're just going to continue across as the directions say, but you're only working in these chain 1 spaces, and you're ignoring this valley here. And you're going to work all the way across. And that should get you started. The rest should be, if you have any problems with the rest, let me know and I'll make you a video.